Hello friends, so next video is about carbon and its properties as well as carbon compounds, how they are formed, what are their structures, what are their names. So it is a topic from chapter 4 of class 10. Now we have discussed in the earlier videos, we have seen carbon has atomic number 6. It has 2 electrons in its first shell and 4 electrons in its last shell. So if we see the last shell of the carbon atom, it has 4 electrons. It can neither give these electrons to fulfill its octet, or neither can it take electrons to fulfill the octet. So what it does, it shares its electrons with other atoms. So this carbon atom has two properties. One is Tetra Valency. So what is Tetra Valency? The property of carbon atom to share its 4 valence electrons with 4 different monovalent atoms. That means those atoms having 1 valence electrons in their last shell, they can share with carbon with 4 individual electrons. For example, if you see the structure of methane, here you can see the structure of methane, in which 4 different hydrogen atoms have bonded with carbon with the 4 valence electrons individually. So each hydrogen atom is sharing its only 1 electrons. As you know, hydrogen has valency 1. So it is sharing with carbon's single electron. So likewise, if you calculate the octet of this carbon atom, then you will see the last shell will have 4 electrons now. The 4 dots represent carbon's electrons, and the cross of individual hydrogen atoms represent its own electrons. So now here the electrons which are shared by hydrogen, 4 different hydrogens, are combined with the 4 electrons of carbon to give an octet of 8. You can calculate it. Carbon has got now 4 extra electrons by sharing. So this is known as tetravalency. So it can combine with different atoms which have valency 1 with, and also share its single electrons in the valence shell with different monovalent atoms. This is known as tetravalency. The next property of carbon is catenation. This property tells that carbon atoms can bond with other carbon atoms to form different types of structures. They can form single bonds, double bonds, triple bonds to form long chains, circular chains, and branch chains. Okay, so carbon can share its electrons with other carbon atoms like so. Here you can see the carbon atom is sharing its 1 valence electrons with other carbon atoms, and here it has formed a single bond. So this is represented by C-C. Carbon can also form double bonds by sharing 2 valence electrons with another carbon atom. So here you can see this has formed double bond. Another type where carbon can share 3 electrons with other carbon atoms and can form triple bonds, which is represented as C triple bond C. Moreover, by forming this type of bonds, carbon can form long chains like so, or branch chains like so, or cyclic chains like this. So this property of carbon, in which carbon can share its electrons and form bonds with other carbon atoms, is known as catenation. So I think you have got the idea. The tetra valency is a property of carbon atoms by which they can share their 4 valence electrons with individual monovalent atoms. And catenation is the property of carbon atoms to share its electrons with other carbon atoms to form this sort of bonds.